Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. Today I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. Should be a good one here as it's a bit of a classic and a great to see matchup. I mean, as far as the North American scene goes, we've got a Terran versus Zerg here, spawning down on the bottom right hand side of the map. It is Root Kelazhur. And the Zerg player spawning up on the top left-hand side. It is Psystorm JonSnow. So when I say it was a bit of a classic matchup in the North American scene, I guess technically South American scene too, as Kelazhur is Brazilian, whereas JonSnow is from the States. So these two guys, top players of their race, pretty much of their region, well, arguably up in the top there, as far as their race goes. So it should be a great matchup, particularly when you sort of know the backstory of these two guys a little bit. As this game's just getting started, I'll fill you in on it a little bit if you don't follow the Starcraft 2 scene down to every little detail. Kelazhur is a player who sort of recently rose up as far as recently in the Starcraft 2 scene, as the scene's been around a very long time. Kelazhur, a player who had sort of was poking out a little bit, and I believe it was 2015, and then he really shone in 2016, where he had some very good tournament finishes, played incredibly well against some arguably highly favored opponents, and then he's just sort of been at a very high level ever since. So it's great to see whether he'll be able to sort of keep that success, well, that newfound success rolling. And then his opponent, JonSnow, the Zerg player. I mean, I've hardly said a word about him since this game started here. JonSnow he's a Zerg player, and he's sort of been on and off. A very high-level Zerg player, you know, he'd be up at the top there of the sort of not quite there yet North American scene. JonSnow was a player who, very high level. I believe he was a student at the same time, so it's quite impressive how good he got. But to my knowledge, when this game was played, and recently, I think he's really been giving it a run at the full-time professional StarCraft 2 player, so I believe his skills just been building, and we haven't quite seen exactly to the extent yet, but he's living in Korea so at the moment, I believe, so he's training incredibly hard to my knowledge. So it's going to be a good match between these two guys. For now, it looks like Kelazhur moving out actually didn't open up with a Reaper, unlike well, not uncommonly, but not opening up with that common build there, but opening up with the two Marines, trying to catch the Overlord, but I don't believe he's going to get it, as it was out of vision there. Whereas JonSnow just opening up with a couple Lings here. Actually going to get on top of the Marines. Kelazhur being a little bit, not necessarily greedy, but planning on getting that Overlord, which can sometimes backfire, and he will lose a Marine as a result of that. He may have to pull into his main base here. I've hardly talked about the builds of these guys, and mainly just about them themselves. So as far as the builds go, right now we've got two base. JonSnow, he just did the standard hatchery pool gas, so he's getting out the Ling speed, building up a good queen count here. So we'll start spreading that creep as Neon Violet Square, I don't believe I mentioned the map either, is a very, quite a large map as far as StarCraft 2 goes. Kelazhur, interestingly enough, going for an eBay block as JonSnow. It is around the time in which he'd want to be taking that third base there. But, so yeah, Kelazhur going for a bit of a unusual engineering bay block there. It's always nice to delay your opponent's expansion. It can really throw them off their game. And so it's always nice to see Kelazhur going for little cheeky moves like that. Speaking of cheeky moves here, he's actually making a medivac, but this is how he's actually researching. I believe that's Hyperflight rotors there. I can't tell by the icons. I believe that's not. Anyway, he's researching an upgrade. I'm not 100% sure what it is. I believe it's one of the new ones or one of the new icons, but basically this is a bait so that JonSnow thinks he's going to be making a Banshee there. The medivac's actually going to pop out though, so the bait won't quite have worked, because the fact that he saw the medivac is likely going to make a or actually, is this Infernal Pre-Igniters? That would be the upgrade. So Kelazhur is actually going to be going for this Infernal Pre-Igniters. You'll have to forgive me as I was talking about that. That was a bit of a bait there. He was sort of going for a double whammy there. There's so many mind games in StarCraft 2. He was sort of trying to bait him into thinking that it could be a Banshee. Instead, it's the more uncommon Infernal Pre-Igniters. Kelazhur, I believe, is one of the players who I have seen this a few times, and pardon me, it's not Infernal Pre-Igniters. It's high-capacity fuel tanks. So that is the upgrade name there. Unfortunately, this overlay I have doesn't let me see the upgrades, which can be a little rough at times with the uncommon ones. Right now we're seeing two SCVs go down, as a Ling or two, I believe, made it into the base. Does get cleaned up, though. as that barracks was lifted off to start the stim pack. Right now we've got stim +1 on the way for Kelazhur, so it's without a doubt he's playing bio. JonSnow got in he saw the another tech lab going up, which I think is a pretty safe bet that he's going to be going bio. And Kelazhur is one of the Terrans who I haven't seen experiment with mech too much, as he has always been quite a strong bio player, even when a lot of other players are looking for different things. So the high capacity fuel tanks is actually a done upgrade, so his medivacs will skirt around the map much quicker, well, much longer, quicklier. It's hard to say that. But yeah, so basically the medivacs will fly faster with their boost there for a little while longer. The Hellions, though, aren't really getting any damage done. So far, JonSnow's defense has been pretty much impeccable here. A few Banelings going up, but he's held back the Hellions, which is sort of the first wave of Kelazhur. And because of the sort of build order, the 3rd CC going up, it will be a while before the next wave hits him. Kelazhur is getting up a 3rd CC, so he's in quite a decent macro position. We'll see if he denies some of these creep tumors. He's going to identify the 4th base. The Lings are going to try and get on top of these Hellions, so he's been skirting around with this highly damaged medivac. 1-1 on the way for both players. Kelazhur may have a small window, but I'm not too sure if he'll have too much to make use of it, as his supply is still relatively low. He's got the Hellions, yes. He's actually got an armory on the way, so they will be able to be Hellbats. But Kelazhur, actually a bit of a misrallied SCVs there. I mean, it's this typical Terran thing. You want to be safe, but then you forget the wall up there. But he's securing a 3rd base right now, going for the opting for the one on the right. Players are sort of back and forth depending on their playstyle, depending on the matchup. Which of these bases they want to take may actually lose his medivac. Needs to be very careful. Loses 3 of the Hellions and takes a lot of damage on the medivac. Needed to might have been a bit wasteful there for Kelazhur. The Hellbats could have really helped out in the push, but ultimately it's Starcraft 2, so you got to take risks, and unfortunately that one didn't pay off. So far, this is really showing JonSnow's incredibly strong defense here, as he just really well defended those Hellions there. Right now, Kelazhur looking to go for a bit of an odd tank and marine drop, it looks like. However, Hydras are on the way out for JonSnow, and those are impeccable. Well, very good, anyway, at defending drops here. We're actually seeing a Viking come in with this too, maybe going to look for an Overlord. A Siege Tank's going to get in there. We're going to see if JonSnow can collapse on it before it really becomes a threat. There's a lot of Lings and Banelings here. Yes, there's the Stim Bio. It does not have Combat Shield, though, so it's relatively weak. It does have +1 right now, but I believe Kelazhur may just have to lift off and get out. He will save the tank, will save all the units there. So getting a tiny bit of damage, tiny bit of harassment, but that was a bit of a large commitment for not much. Kelazhur walling off, but so far JonSnow has really been just threatening a little bit to keep Kelazhur back at home. A little bit unsafe right now. As far as the upgrades are, the players are equal. Kelazhur on his way to 2-2. JonSnow just getting that melee. Oh, Kelazhur actually flying right on top of these Hydras. Will unload most of the units, but one of the medivacs does go down, so some of these units will be lost, that's for sure. We're seeing the Marines are actually getting on top of 1 or 2 drones there, but that's pretty much it. It was just 2 drones. Does lose a Marine. So ultimately, getting a bit of damage there. I'd say it was, in my opinion, maybe a equal trade there. Getting the bit of harassment done, but not ultimately too much. It's really going to come down to how this sort of later or mid to late game goes. That's really what this game is gearing up for. Kelazhur making a lot of bio, and this is one of the reasons. It's not a it's sort of a style choice lately. The Terrans have sort of been avoiding playing bio straight up versus Zerg, as it can be tough versus the Lingbane Hydra with Zergs who have good defense. The Terran really is put on a window to try and break the Zerg. Right now we're seeing Kelazhur try these unique drops that aren't really paying off so far. May actually not pay off at all here, as these Lings will see this other round of drops here. So that's going to be scouted there. JonSnow's going to know that's coming. Kelazhur's going to know the Ling run by is coming. He's been doing a good job rallying to his 3rd base at the moment, as these Ling drops have been consistent here. Big Doom drop plan for Kelazhur, but he's going to need to turn that ship right around here. Going to be going on into the main base, but nothing. He scans, he knows. Also sees that there's the hive for JonSnow. Vipers are on the way too, so that can make life a little more rough for the medivacs, as it can sort of shut them down, abduct them into Hydras, and that's what makes this style very strong. They really, all the units really complement each other very well. We're seeing Ultralisk Cavern on the way too, so JonSnow's really hitting his macro stride. He's mainly been uncontested here as far as his macro goes. Actually has some of Kelazhur's medivacs caught at the moment, it looks like. Yeah, they're pretty stuck. They could maybe skirt around the top there. They'd have to wait for boost. Scan goes down for Kelazhur, maybe thinking, oh, I can't get out of here. He may actually move forward to try and free those units. We'll see. It's a bit of an odd situation. The Viking tries to buy some time, and Kelazhur actually boosting over those rocks and not wanting to go around. Maybe trying to catch a chunk of the army, but JonSnow gonna consolidate there. Still has some units in the main base, though. Kelazhur looking to get something done, but he needs to be so careful with these medivacs. I think most Terrans will have some memory of losing a lot of units to a bad medivac load-off. Kelazhur, though, he's got the 2-2, so technically he has an upgrade advantage right now. He's heading into his +3 as well. He's stepping on to creep right now, so with good control, he can make something happen. However, he does have a very low siege tank count, and JonSnow's rushing towards more tech. This could be very rough for Kelazhur here right now. Getting concussive shells as well, but ultimately it's not too useful versus Zerg. It can be very tough to kite because of the speed of the links. Kelazhur's been building up a decently high siege tank count. He's getting into a 4th base right now. He's got that wall up, which is good, preventing that ling run by there. Kelazhur unsieging, but this is sort of how Terrans have a bit of difficulty here trying to push into the Zerg, because the game is getting better for JonSnow the longer it goes. Kelazhur has tried to make a few things happen, but ultimately nothing has. And so he could be in a rough spot right now. Spire is on the way. JonSnow is just teching away happily. He will become stronger. Right now, Kelazhur may be able to hit a bit of a window. JonSnow actually stepping off creep could be a little ambitious here. He doesn't have the best upgrades done right now. His +2 armor is not done, so these ultras will die relatively quickly here. They do have chitinous plating, but still they're evaporated. That was a lot of bio right now with an upgrade advantage. Now the +2 carapace is finished for JonSnow, so that was a bit of an anti-timing there. We're seeing 4 ultras are on the way, as he does have to replace those. He's got 2 done at the moment. He will have to play a bit defensive. This could be Kelazhur's timing. He's slightly ahead on supply. He's got siege tanks. He's going to risk it in a bit of a drop. However, JonSnow actually has those units that he left there earlier. Kelazhur in trouble, loses a medivac, so there goes some of that supply. And now he's unloading right in the face of this Zerg as he steps forward. He's going to be able to kite back. The siege tanks are just being buffers at best as they're caught off guard there. He's going to have to keep kiting back. Now, this is not too much Zerg here. It's sort of just streaming forth. Some units are still in the medivacs for Kelazhur. This is absurd how far back he's being pushed here. Great play by JonSnow getting on top of Kelazhur, realizing that moment. One of the siege tanks is going to siege up there. They're both incredibly weak, and there is just 2 siege tanks, whereas there's Vipers. There's building ultras count. Kelazhur's really trying to make this window work. Over the Zerg count seems to have gone up a bit. This is 6 ultras. It's not the few that he managed to kite back from earlier. Now it seems that Kelazhur may just be forced to retreat. Picking up as many of his units as he can, however, he needs to be careful. Losing the medivacs can be risky. I guess that's where that medivac upgrade is coming in handy. They're going to boost slightly quicker. The 4th base is going to be forced to be abandoned. It may even be killed here by these few hydras, as that was not turned into a planetary in time. There's 3 siege tanks, so he may be able to defend this. Kelazhur once again unloads in his medivacs. They're going to have to abandon ship once again, though. Right now we're seeing +3. It's pretty much 3-2 upgrades for both players. However, JonSnow has the much scarier army at the moment. The 3 siege tanks are tucked away for Kelazhur. It's going to be a very tough nut to break, but JonSnow, he's been happy playing the defensive game so far, and he's not going to throw that away. So far, everything seems to be going his way. Right now, we've got Kelazhur trying his best to make something happen here. But ultimately, he's pushed back. He's basically just sitting at home at this point. Had to take that odd medivac flight path. And now the window for him may have passed, and it's certainly going to be passing here. As there's already Corruptors out for JonSnow. And now he's going to be heading into Broodlords, which really changes how the Terran player has to play. You either have to play Ghosts, mass counterattacks. There's Broodlords really add another layer that the Terran has to think about there. Kelazhur kiting back as JonSnow engages once again. This is a bit ambitious for JonSnow. This is a +3 bio here, so kiting back will do decent versus these ultras. And once again, right before JonSnow's, pardons me, upgrade has finished, so they were down on armor there. All the ultras get picked off. Kelazhur, though, still down on supplies. That 62 ling, 7 ultra remax is on the way. So Kelazhur took a fantastic fight, but JonSnow can really afford it. He's still got money in the bank. He's taking more bases here. And Kelazhur hasn't had or made many attempts to try and harass these outlying bases while the main fight has gone on. JonSnow's done a good job keeping Kelazhur busy here, so JonSnow is really shining in this game right now. Just happily macroing, making some ultras, some banelings. No Broodlords are on the table just yet, as this has been going quite well for him, but as I say that, 3 Broodlords starting right now. Kelazhur is going to see this and think, oh no, we'll see if some starports or maybe a Ghost Academy goes up, but I believe his first instinct, pardon me, will be to have to counterattack there. Right now we've got Kelazhur still sitting back at home, throwing up another CC, but this is sort of a forced macro. I mean, if you're a Terran player and you want to play the late game, you wanted to have the Ghost Academy and slowly been building the Ghost count, playing it, keeping the Siege Tank count high, not bleeding off all these units, going for more CCs, but ultimately this has not happened for Kelazhur. He's making 2 Vikings out of his 1 starport to counter this, and the 3 Broodlords are moving forward, and this could, I mean, they could get picked off by some Marines if they run forward. However, there's the supporting army there, so it could get a little rough for Kelazhur. Counterattacks, I believe, are one of Kelazhur's greatest strengths, so he may need to try and get on that, but it may be too late. We're seeing all these siege tanks, so we'll see what they're able to do. The Broodlords, though, are now starting to work away on this base. The bio is running forward, cleaning up some creep, but they are going to have to load up into that medivac. Kelazhur's multitasking is really going to be tested here. Running forward, getting on top of the Broodlords, so they are picked off. However, the base did go down, so he's going to start bleeding off SCVs there. Oh, so many SCVs are falling right now. The siege tanks are shelling away, though, so Kelazhur taking a good fight here. JonSnow a little ambitious once again. Maybe not going with everything he had. Kelazhur counterattacking, getting on top of this, I don't know what it is, maybe the 4th base for JonSnow. Now shaving off some overlords. I mean, JonSnow's still certainly got that max supply cap, but picking off the base was nice. Any damage getting done. 9 drones have fallen. JonSnow's burnt through a large portion of his bank, so 1 or 2 more good fights, and Kelazhur certainly can have this game. He is forced to lift off, but he's reconsolidating with this whole army here, getting on top of the gold base for JonSnow, which is quite an important base. His economy is not terrible at this point, but it's being worked on by Kelazhur. He's still got the siege tank count. Now JonSnow in a little bit of trouble right now. If he takes another poor engagement as he forces Kelazhur back, but Kelazhur is forced back once again. All those lings that JonSnow made earlier wrap around on top of the army. There's still that 1 Hydros on patrol to man the fort. Kelazhur dropping into the main base there, picking off a Viper. We're seeing a few units trickling in are going to get picked off there. However, this is so many lings for JonSnow. They have the adrenal glands. So they are the cracklings for sure. Right now we're seeing... Actually, pardon me, there is no... He does not have the upgrade that makes them attack faster there. Right now we're seeing Kelazhur doing a bit of that back and forth drop play. This is why Zergs like to have some sort of anti-air in their army, but there's actually not too much of it for JonSnow at the moment. So Kelazhur doing a good job with that. Right now there is the 1 Corruptor. He tries to pick it off. However, a few more are coming out. Some Hydras are actually going to catch this army. Good reaction by Kelazhur. Loses 1 of the medivacs, so that's pretty critical here. He started the comeback right now. JonSnow's economy has been punished. However, Kelazhur's himself was not fantastic. He floated over a base, however, it's not yet landed, so both players not with a great income, but Kelazhur's certainly lagging behind. Needs to land that command center. Drop the Mule Hammer. And siege up in case JonSnow decides to go for another attack. And JonSnow is going for another attack, and this could be it. Kelazhur's got the Ghost, but with the Ghost, you sort of need to be pre-positioned to get effective snipes off. There's also the Vipers. They can blinding cloud. The siege tank's not too well spread out. The bio could also be caught under that. There's no planetary at this base, as the intended planetary was killed off there. Kelazhur sieging up once again. Looks like JonSnow planning a wraparound, planning an attack, getting pathogen glands there for his infestors. Right now we're seeing, look at this surround that JonSnow's planning. To the left, to the north, to the northeast, I suppose. But it's certainly going to be a nice move in by JonSnow. He's going to be going on for Kelazhur. This could possibly be the killing move here. Kelazhur caught with his back against a wall here. It looks like that JonSnow is just going to roll forward. You do not want to be caught in one place versus Ultras. Yes, the minerals are helping Kelazhur out, but however, there's just not enough bio, and it looks like that JonSnow is going to take the game as GG gets called. Well played by JonSnow there. Managing to bring down Kelazhur. Kelazhur having a bit of a rough time there, but managing. But JonSnow managed to bring him down on the map. Neon Violet Square. Kelazhur, maybe if you went for a different build or something like that. I mean, it's Starcraft 2. There's all sorts of different T's to cross and I's to dot and whatnot. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this cast, this was a bit of an impromptu one, I suppose. But yeah, if you enjoyed the cast, feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe if you like StarCraft 2 content. And if you do enjoy the video, feel free to share it with anyone. I mean, I'm not really expecting anyone to, but if you do, that would be greatly appreciated. I shall see you guys next time.